What's the most disturbing thing you learned about someone on the first date? I went on a single date with a woman. I learned she'd dated, separately, both my brother and cousin. Coincidentally. Guy told me when was 56 he and his buddies all gave each other blow jobs, and that all boys did it, and if they said they didn't they were lying. Said casually after hookup, I have to get up early tomorrow, because I have a court date for hitting my ex-wife. She told me her favorite movie of all time was the live-action The Last Airbender film. Guy told me when he was young he tortured a cat to see what would happen. He was 16. Went out with a girl who had never heard of the Beatles. Born and raised in Canada. How does that even happen? Obviously not on par with the would-be serial killers everyone else is describing, but it still confuses me years later. Guy told me my wrists are too small, he could hold them both with one hand and I won't be able to escape. Girl I professionally saw a few times asked me out. We went out and for the first time I saw her with short sleeves on and she had a big Confederate flag tattoo on her forearm. An ex told me that he knows the baby photo that supposedly of him was actually of his brother who died in infancy, but he's never allowed to acknowledge even knowing about it to his mother. Who brings that up on a first date? She had never had ketchup before. We were in our 20s. Not me, but my friend matched with a woman online and after they talked for a few days she said she has to tell him something and it might be a deal breaker. He googled her name immediately and turns out that she served time because she was a teacher and slept with a student. The mugshot was unmistakable. So then he talked to her and she brought up something else entirely that wasn't that bad, like she lived with her parents or something. They don't wash their hands after she doesn't like pizza. She was a murderer, recently released. That they ate human meat and said it's not too bad and that they'd eat it again lol. Freaking crazy shit lol. They believe the Instagram style high life is real and something they deserve and expect. This became all too common over the years. A regular at a bar I went to was clearly into me. We had similar interests, so eventually we went home after last call one night. He told me the next day he was homeless and was at the bar so much because he did odd jobs in exchange for drinks. He was persistent in asking what I was doing that day, and I said I was seeing some friends to watch the Eagles game. He found out where I was and proceeded to ask if we were in a relationship. I said no, and he sent me a bunch of long-winded messages about how he thought he loved me, but I'm clearly just like the other girls and a bitch who broke his heart. I learned this months later. But apparently he was trying to get all the other regulars to talk to me for him after I blocked him. He truly didn't understand how creepy and fixated he came off. I literally had nightmares about him showing up to my apartment, since he knew where I lived. Years ago I went out with a dude who just gave me the ick, dunno why. I googled him after and found that he had been arrested the previous year for soliciting sex with a minor online the year before and was awaiting trial and was out on bail. I absolutely didn't return that dude's call. My ex made sure to hide his copy of Mein Kampf Hitler's manifesto because he didn't want me to get the wrong impression. Had a guy who worked in healthcare tell me he was anti-vax. I just found it strange that in the gay community, it was only a few decades ago that got hit hard with the AIDS epidemic and it was turned around by trusting new medicine. I wasn't about to hook up with him.